What's up, guys? My name is SnyperSama, but you can call me Sniper. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going over my Title Update 3 Meta Insect Glaive build. Now, I was going through my YouTube, I was taking a look. What videos haven't I made in a while? And lo and behold, Insect Glaive was actually made not too long ago, but it was an affinity focused build versus just a generalist meta build. And so here we are with the updated meta. I will preface this with saying this build is only able to be used if you have finally beaten Savage Omega, the Tempered Omega, if you will. If you have not done that, unfortunately, you're kinda out of luck. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's build. Today, we are rocking the Insect Glaive, and this is the true Omega's Rod. You get this Insect Glaive specifically by beating Tempered Omega. Once you have beat Tempered Omega, you can craft this along with all of our armor here. The Omega ear cuffs. This is the helmet, the Omega chestplate, the Omega arms, the Omega waist, and then we have the Arch-Tempered Uthuna Greaves with my new favorite talisman. My attack boost 3, item prolonger 3, Golden Age charm. Okay, now, the reason we are rocking all of these together is because of a couple of different synergistic perks. Get it? Synergy, because the weapon? Anyways, the weapon itself has this equipment skill called Synergy. The way Synergy works is it increases your affinity when you use your Rising Spiral Slash. If you're new to Insect Glaive, what you need to know is your Rising Spiral Slash happens when you have 3 of your Kinsect buffs. Once you have all 3 of them, you can do a combo string. In that combo string, you will do the Rising Spiral Slash, which kind of like lifts you up into the air like a helicopter and is doing damage at the exact same time. What this does is this is going to give you and everybody else around you a certain amount of affinity for a certain amount of time. That affinity is affected by our armor. Since we have Omega Resonance 2, we are going to be giving ourselves 25% affinity and everybody around us that was in the radius of that Rising Spiral Slash, we are going to give everybody 25% affinity. On top of that is going to last for 60 seconds. If you play Insect Glaive, you already know that 60 seconds is a long time to wait between Rising Spiral Slashes, considering how much damage it does. Because of how much damage it does, more than likely, you'll be able to just kind of keep refreshing this buff without a hitch, which means it has nearly 100% uptime in an ideal situation, okay? Now, the other part to this is the Omega Resonance gear. This stuff actually has its own set of skills going and activating. What this is going to do is you will have a red circle, you will have a purple circle. Red circle increases at the Resonance 2, which is what we have, 4-piece bonus. You will get plus 20 raw attack for everybody that is not in your circle when you are playing with people. However, Resonance 2 with the purple circle states that everybody, I believe, also gets, I believe it's 40% affinity. I think it's 20% at Resonance 1 and 40% at Resonance 2. Okay? You will get that affinity. You will get that attack. Affinity, people in your circle. Attack, people out of your circle. Unfortunately, you are the only one that gets these buffs. However, it does work when you are playing with support hunters and when you are playing with other actual players. That being said, this is definitely more of an Insect Glaive build for everyone. This is something that you would rock if you are just trying to carry on hunts. Not only are you giving everybody the affinity boost, but you're actually doing something to the point that you are increasing your damage, you are increasing everybody's affinity, you're increasing your own affinity, and on top of that, you are pumping out a lot of damage. So, now that we've gone over the whys, let's go ahead and hit all of our armor decorations. On our Omega Rod, True Omega Rod, we have critical, and flight. Flight is really, really nice on Insect Glaive, because it increases your jumping attack power by plus 10%. What this means is it's not just jumping off your secret. Jumping off your secret or off of a cliff, whatever, when you were to go to do that attack, you would get a 10% damage increase. Thankfully, with Insect Glaive, on Rising Spiral Slash, and when you're flying through the air, they all count as jumping attacks. You are airborne, which means all of these get 10% flat increases to damage, which is huge. Then on top of that, we have critical boost. The reason we are opting for critical boost is because we actually have a ton of affinity with this build, but we'll get into the math in a second. we have our favorite hunting horn, the Queen Courtmaker. Always. You never know when you gotta swap to it. Help a homie out, okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 Tenderizer Jewels. This is going to give us level 5 weakness exploit. We have 1 Challenger Jewel. This is going to give us 3 levels of Agitator. It's not great, but it does help filter out a little bit. Since we already have 1 level of Burst, we didn't really need a second one. Agitator is a fairly decent increase, going from +8 raw to +12, +5% affinity to +7. It's not a crazy amount, but it definitely helps a little bit. To follow, we have 1, 2, 3 Counter Jewels. The reason we are rocking Counter-Strike right now is because Counter-Strike is actually really good on Insect Glaive. There's a lot of times that you will be up in the air and you'll get caught. Because you get caught, you might as well end up coming back to the fight with more attack. Insect Glaive is one of those. It can be really good at getting out of a situation, but it can also unfortunately put you into a situation because of how much verticality it has built into its kit. Next up is we have a Destroyer Jewel. This is going to give us maximum part breaker, because if you don't know, on Insect Glaive, specifically with Rising Spiral Slash, when you attack, you're not just attacking one part. Typically, you are attacking several parts on the monster all at once, which means Part Breaker actually gets a lot more bonuses on Insect Glaive than you normally would think, just on the aspect of you're hitting so many different parts of a monster, especially a monster, say, like Zoshia, that's huge. If you were to do your Rising Spiral Slash against Zoshia, you could hit the head, you could hit the leg, you could hit the wings, you could hit the arms, you can hit everything with one cast of your Rising Spiral Slash. Then we have a Shockproof and 3 Medicine Jewels. Shockproof is because you really don't want to be interrupting anybody on your team, and you don't want anybody interrupting you. Because a lot of combos with the Insect Glaive come from fluidity, you don't want to be interrupted. It can really throw off your rhythm, and ironically enough, it'll also throw off like just how you are playing. You don't want to be doing that, especially with the offsets. You don't want anybody to be in your way. So because of that, and we had an additional level 1 slot, Shockproof is what I decided to go with. And then lastly, we have Medicine Jewel. This is for Recovery Up. Recovery Up is a wonderful skill. It increases the amount of health that you're going to get from Dust of Life, Life Powder, Potion, Mega Potion, so on and so forth. It's just one of those that's pretty good. Normally, I would slot in Divine Blessing, but thanks to us using Omega Armor, we already have it. The alternative to Recovery Up could be Quick Sheath, but since we have the Youth Dune Agrees on, we have it on. It just felt like the right part to add for all of it, because when you get hit, who doesn't like healing up a little bit faster, right? The alternatives could be something along the lines of a different resistance tool. If you are trying to do it specific to a monster you're fighting, you could even choose for Marathon Runner, because going up into the sky, it'll start to drain your stamina really quickly. Adaptability, if you really wanted to, mixed with a Growth Jewel. There's not really a whole lot that go into it in this last little bit. Because you can only get 3 levels of it, I don't recommend Defense Boost, unlike a lot of my builds, but it's kind of what I chose. Overall, the real thing that you need to be able to make this build work is to have beaten Savage Omega. If you have beaten Savage Omega, you can get this entire set with relative ease. The only variation that I am having for this Insect Glaive is we are not using the OMG drum. The reason for it is not only because it's severing, and it just doesn't have great Kinsect bonuses. The attack boost powder isn't wonderful. I would much rather have the Harvest Extract, which means that you can get more to be able to have more of your buffs at more often. I don't know why I said at in between there. That is why I rock the Arc Maiden. It just overall does better for me. The alternative to True Omega's Rod, if you really wanted to, could be a Rarity 8 Insect Glaive. The problem with this is you don't have as much sharpness, and on top of that, you don't have synergy. And that synergy perk really helps like kind of ramp up the amount of affinity you get. So this is what I'm talking about when I say it ramps up the amount of affinity you get. Naturally, on this, you have 10% on Omega. Thanks to all of our skills, if we were to activate Rising Spiral Slash Synergy, we'd go up to 35% affinity. 35% mixed with Weakness Exploit, we'll just call it a blank 30% because you're hitting a lot of monster parts. You're up to 65%. If it's on a wound, which Thankfully, Insect Glaive cares a lot about wounds, and it's a little bit easier with Partbreaker. You get an additional 20%. If you don't have that additional 20%, you're sitting at about 65, and when the monster is enraged, about 70. 70% affinity is really, really solid to take advantage of critical boost level 5, attack boost level 3, and on top of that, depending on what Omega Resonance form you're in, if you're in the purple one, you naturally will get the additional 40%. Meaning, when all of these skills are working as intended, when they're supposed to, you will have overcapped affinity, guaranteeing that you and your teammates are able to have the highest amount of damage possible because you're critting more often than not. So, now that I'm done rambling, we're going to talk to our boy Luke. We're going to go ahead and turn all of the agitator skill on. And actually, we don't need her to attack me. And we're going to show you what I'm talking about. So, we destroy the wound there. Let's go ahead and just level up. Try and get all of our buffs. Unfortunately, we have to hit this thing. There we go. Okay. Now that we have all 3 of my buffs, I'm going to show you guys what I was talking about. So, to start, you're going to start your strong descending slash. Not only does this have offset properties, but when you activate it, the follow-up to this is the rising spiral slash. That giant purple aura that you saw fly out of me as I was flying up is exactly what I was talking about. You can see, thanks to synergy right now, we're at 42% affinity. If we were to include the fact that we don't have the Omega Resonance buff right now, we would actually be closer to 82%. With Weakness Exploit, every time we hit one of those spots, we're sitting at that 72% affinity. So not only does this build have a fairly decent amount of raw attack damage, but you also are able to continue just pumping damage out, and most of it being crits. And the way you can tell if it's a crit is that little red diamond that you can see right above the number. So you can see, well, diamond, little icon, I don't know what to call it. You can see it right there. These indicate that we are hitting our crits. Although it only says 42%, I promise you it is higher while you are fighting. You can see just on those last 5 hits, or 6 hits, 5 of them were crits. I promise, as long as you hit weak spots, you will hit crits. If you come back to this back over here, this isn't a weak spot. You can see we naturally would only have 42% affinity back here. You can still see, I mean, near 50-50. We're not getting a whole lot, okay? This build prioritizes people that know what the hit zones are, know what the weak zones are, and are able to take advantage of them. Not to mention, Insect Glaive is just a ton of fun. You're able to do crazy, crazy, flashy, spinny moves, and who doesn't enjoy flying up into the sky? That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's build. Thank you all for coming and watching. Thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Farewell. I don't ever slow up.